we were out on a hike, and it was like, I think I wouldn't mind if you slept with somebody else. And I was like, I don't think I would mind if you slept with someone else. And then 3 months later, we were sleeping with other people.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their funny, sexy, and fascinating stories as they take us on their journey. We always strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy and positive approach to non-monogamy.
However, everyone approaches it a little differently. And at its core, our show is about hearing, highlighting, and learning from the different experiences and approaches people have. With that in mind, it is important to remember that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of our own.
So sit back, relax, and just accept the fact that your time with us will be spent in an awkward turmoil of laughter and arousal. We should also let you know that this podcast will hopefully include some explicit language.
If that kind of thing offends you, we suggest you keep listening until it no longer does. If you're under 18, you either need to stop listening or go get your parents and you can listen as a family. The choice is yours. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 15. At the end of last week's episode, we noted that we were going to be publishing an interview we did with fellow podcasters Swinging Along this week, and we were contacted by them and asked not to publish that episode right now.
Yeah, so instead we have a really cool interview we did with a poly couple who reached out to us via our website, hint, hint, and they wanted to come on the show and talk about how their journey through swinging led them into poly, and now they kind of do a little bit of a blend of the two. So it's a really fun interview. They're really, really fun people. We had a great time talking. One quick programming note. Please, if you haven't yet, empty your bladder before the show because they have a fish tank running in the background, and we didn't know that the microphone was picking it up. So there are little bits and pieces throughout the episode where it sounds like maybe you're standing next to a babbling brook.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but you can definitely notice it.
Yep, so it's very, it's soothing.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And on that note, just to look forward into next week, we've got an interview with the fellow podcasters, Adam and Eve from Spiritual Swingers.
Yes.
So that'll be coming up in a week. In the meantime, I think Emma wants to shamelessly plug something.
You can get a free trial from Cassidy if you go to our website and sign up through the link. We have a 30-day free trial, or if you leave us a iTunes review or a review on any platform, we can extend it to 90 days. That's my shameless plug. And go ahead.
Ooh. And we've gotten a lot of really cool reviews from people in the past, and some that didn't even want the free trial. So thanks to everybody who's been doing that. We really appreciate it. It helps out. It boosts our confidence. We sleep better at night.
Well, it's just helpful to know that we're doing a good job and people are enjoying our podcast.
Yep. And if you ever have any constructive feedback, please just send that to Emma. She'll take care of it. And
send it to our email.
Okay, send it to our email. And then without further ado...
Well, you can find us on our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You can also find us on Twitter under the screen name NNM Podcast or under the same screen name on Cassidy. And now, interview time.
So first thing I wanted to say was thank you for reaching out and saying that, that you tried swinging and that it didn't really work for you. And so we really wanted to hear about how that went and that journey for you guys. But before we do that, do you mind telling us a little bit about who you guys are, roughly, your ages, and maybe just something interesting about each of you?
Sure. I'm Sarah. I am 32, stay-at-home mom. Both of us really love hiking, something we do often together. We actually just hiked several of the parks in Utah for our anniversary this year.
Oh, exciting.
Oh, cool.
Which ones, just out of curiosity?
So this year we did Capitol Reef, Arches, and Canyonland.
Okay.
Awesome. And then last year we did Zion and Bryce.
Beautiful places.
We love all of them.
out there, it's amazing. I love it out there. So different than pine trees.
Yes.
All right, I'm Bucky. I'm 36.
You're 36.
Yeah, that sounds right. 36. We have 2 kids.
Yeah, we do have 2 kids, yeah.
2 kids at home, and I work in construction like 60 hours a week.
Oh.
And besides hiking, I'm an ultra runner.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's got a 50-mile race this weekend.
Oh, that's it? Okay.
Yeah. No big
Simple.
deal. No big deal. Just, 10 hours worth of running, right?
Yeah, we do that every weekend.
Yeah. I did 50 before we jumped on the podcast here. I'll probably do another 50 after.
You look
but-
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's super impressive, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
The longest race we've ever done is a half marathon, and that was good enough.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
where I stop. I'm like, I'm good there. Like, I'm
Yeah.
good.
Probably the craziest part is I did just do a marathon on Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wait, so you did a marathon. So, okay, we're recording on a Thursday night. So you did a marathon 4 days ago, and then you have a 50-miler in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
It was a warm-up.
Yeah.
It was a warm-up
It was just a
marathon.
training run.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from there because I'm just a little impressed. So, so I guess, so one of the things when you reached out via email, you talked a little bit about, you referred back to one of our early episodes with Jake and Elizabeth, and where we had talked about not really being good at defining that line between swingers and poly and open marriage and all that. And you kind of said you've kind of zigzagged in and out of all of them and had some insight. And so maybe if you could tell us a little bit about your guys' dynamic and what you guys have found works for you.
Sure. So I don't know where to start. So originally we decided that we wanted to try swinging while hiking one day, actually. Like, it's something that we had kind of like talked about. Like, he's always been incredibly open, like from the time we met, that he like was bi-curious. And I've always kind of just been like, if that's like, I definitely don't have a penis. So if you need to like experiment, like, I'm very okay with that. I'm bisexual, so like I get wanting to, see what that's about. So it took us years. We've been together 14, but that was at the 10-year mark.
Yeah.
Married 10 years. We were out on a hike, and it was like, I think I wouldn't mind if you slept with somebody else. And I was like, I don't think I would mind if you slept with someone else. And then 3 months later, we were sleeping with other people.
Was it based off of that idea that you both wanted to explore your sexuality? And going into it, was there like, it's okay if it's other men or other women, but not, or it's okay if it's same sex or not same sex?
We never set like a boundary on what sex you could, participate with. We just didn't care.
No.
So
Yeah.
whatever floated your boat, go for it.
Right.
As long as it's not too obscure.
Too obscure? What is that?
like an animal or something.
Well, yes, bestiality is definitely off the table.
It's good
Yeah.
to know. Good to know. I don't know, it gets lonely on those long trail runs, but... Sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah, back to...
Anyway, moving on.
So after that, you said you jumped right into it in 3 months, but during that 3-month period where it was first brought up and before you actually started, what was that journey like? Did you guys talk about it a lot more? I'm assuming you did a bunch of research, because I think you mentioned that.
So that was me. I went online and like anything I could consume, whether it was podcast form or like an obscure video on YouTube or articles, not so much books. I haven't found too many books that I'm like totally in love with on the topic, but I looked and I tried and I tried out different sites to see, being in Maine, very rural, not a huge population to start with, and then to even be part of the minority of having an open marriage. So I had to do a lot of research to figure out which site for like the swingers or like the dating kind of thing was going to work for us, and getting that all going and working on the profile and making sure like it really did express ourselves. Like, I was very conscientious of like, I want to represent ourselves really well. So,
Right. Yeah.
so I just kind of, I let it consume me. And then he was just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so the first step was exploring the swinging side of things.
Yeah, I think that
our first experience was together.
Yeah, we did. We wanted to make sure our first experience was together as a couple, just in case like one of us freaked out or we didn't like it or whatever.
We were in it together, so you're equal blame.
Right.
If this goes wrong, like we're together, we can blame each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's mutual blame.
Yeah. Right. So we
and if it didn't work, you don't have to do it again, too.
Right. Yeah, very much so. And so so it took us a bit of time to find somebody that he did a lot of the talking. Like, he talks to people a lot more easily than I do. I'm much more like introverted and just like...
Yeah, you're a big chatterbox right now.
I know.
Yeah, anyways.
She's out talking about a topic she's really passionate about. You can tell that.
Right. I set up a bunch, profiles and did all that and kind of played what I called the game, which is just there's so many people that flake on you or don't show up or you think you have a good connection with and then they're poof, gone.
It's true, yeah. We have a lot of that.
It was bad and like probably the worst day ever in our swinging experience was I had 5 dates set up. And none of them showed up.
Not one.
So you set up 5 consecutive on one day?
Yeah, and I was like, I'm just playing the numbers, and she's like, you're insane. And like, so we had like a hiking thing in the morning and a lunch and another, and then we like met another one, and none of them showed up. They all canceled. I think it was 4 actually, and then we wound up with a couple we had actually talked with initially.
Yeah.
In a hotel that they were like, we were hoping that didn't work out for you.
Wow.
It just worked out. So, we did end up with a couple that night, just not the people we intended with.
True story. Yeah.
That was interesting. So it's
stressful. So stressful.
So I think that part of the swinging, really bothered Sarah, in that it was very stressful and there's a lot of playing, this kind of crazy game of you get close to people online and then they just kind of disappear and completely go.
Right.
It happens. Well, and again, like, we're in an area where the pool just isn't very large already in such a small, like, I've heard people talk about like clubs and stuff, and I'm like, there is a club that's open once a month and they don't announce the date until like a few days before.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to plan around. Yeah.
With kids, it's impossible, and it's like I don't even know, like, how do we make that work? So we stuck more to like trying to do the one-on-one. Our first experience was a single male. We had a lot of luck with single males.
Well, no, we only did the one. I think most of them just wanted you, and then I was just kind of, I think that me being bisexual drives a lot of people away.
So you put that out there.
Yeah, just because I'm bi doesn't mean that I have to do anything like with the guy. It's just an option on the table. But apparently, they just assume that they're God's gift.
You're just gonna assault them and go, start.
Yeah, that's right. It's just like, no, I do have resistance.
Right.
Like, it's good. Consent is important.
Very important. So when you guys first made the profile, you put that you were bi-curious Bucky right away and was out and open about it?
I was pretty sure it wasn't even bi-curious. I knew I was bi. The bi-curious part was just a bunch of,
Well, you hadn't
I hadn't actually done anything physically, I was pretty stuck to myself, but...
We figured that as long as we were going to do this, we wanted to be as open and honest. That way we attracted the right kind of people for us.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really important to do up front. Like, just put everything out there and the right people you'll eventually find.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, so it sounds like you didn't have a ton of luck on the front of finding other guys initially that were interested in playing on the swinging side of things. with both of you guys.
Not with the swinging side, not as a couple.
Not as a couple, yeah.
It wasn't long when, instead of like playing together, we separated. Sarah would go off and do her thing, and then I would go off and, do my thing. And I was much more successful in my sexual explorations, in that,
Right.
So your swinging started together and then slowly, like...
Within a couple months, we were like, yeah, we're good. We were only together probably with 3 different scenarios.
Yeah.
I think it was only 3 really where we swung together, and then we were like, oh, we can just kind of go separate.
Yeah, and it felt very natural for us to be like, okay, you're into this, then you go do that. And like, oh, I'm into this, I want to go explore that. We really gave each other the freedom to explore and express ourselves how we felt we needed to.
Right. Did you guys find, as you were going through this exploration, that you started to discover things that you weren't necessarily into the same things? Like, oh, I discovered I like this, oh, I like this. And...
Yeah. Yes.
You're very vanilla.
I'm very vanilla. Sarah gets more into things that, just aren't of my interest. BDSM stuff.
Okay.
That I can try for her, but she just doesn't take me serious.
Well, that's the other thing, is every couple has a sexual chemistry. So, just because I like a specific thing doesn't mean it's going to work with every partner.
For sure.
Of course.
For sure.
Yeah. No, I am of the belief that you don't know if you like it until you try it.
Right.
So I have very few hard no's, because it's like, well, maybe I will like activity X. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you just find somebody that you trust and feel comfortable, and then you explore the crazier sex stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to approach it, right? Because it sounds like if you guys weren't willing to open up your relationship, you probably wouldn't ever have gotten to explore some of those things that I'm sure you found that you really enjoyed. Because not because Bucky's not on board with it, it's just not maybe his jam.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't have worked because, I didn't know that she was into some of the stuff, even though we had tried,
Well, we tried some of it.
Some of it, spanking or tying her down.
But it's also like when you're going into that kind of stuff, the other partner has to be equally as into it.
Right, and because it's not a turn on for me.
Right, like I can tell it's not a turn on for him, so it's like I'm not feeling it as much.
Just like Sarah seeing me with another guy does nothing for her. It doesn't bother her, but it's not like she's not into voyeurism or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
So what did that transition? I mean, one of the things when you reached out, you talked about the transition from swinger to poly, and it sounds like it was swinging together, swinging separate, and then did it sort of just naturally morph into like a poly type thing, or?
Yeah, that was a more of a okay, this is the direction we're going in.
So
moment.
What happened was
defend yourself. Go ahead.
There's a story. There is a couple that we were introduced to by one of the first couples that we had been with, and they were like, you guys are the same kind of geeky. Like, you'll get along really well.
Which we did.
The husband and I both enjoy comics and gaming and things like that. And like doing the conventions and the cosplaying, all of that stuff. So we were able to bond on that. And what happened was this couple schedule was kind of crazy. The wife's working hours and like our hours with the kids. Like it was a very hard time meeting up. So we decided that I would just meet him one night and we would just get coffee and see if we vibed. And then if we got along, we would try to get all 4 of us together. Because our rule was I always wanted to meet the people before I actually did anything physical.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to meet them and not necessarily take my clothes off.
Well, yeah, Sarah is more, she needs the emotional connection.
I do need some kind of connection.
Yeah, and that's something we knew going in. Like she needed to at least have a comfort level and a friend, kind of, at least be kind of friends with it.
Yeah, that's why.
She's not a one-night stand kind of girl.
Yeah, so, and a lot of people up here, that's the perception of swinging, which I understand it's not that way for everybody. Like, I don't want to insult people, but up here, that's very much the, like,
we spoke each.
Right, like, yeah, like, they just want the sex, and then when that's over, okay. And then it's like, that's not an awesome feeling for, some people are totally cool with that experience. Sure. I'm just not. So anyway, so the guy and I hung out and we hit it off really, really well.
Yeah.
And then we hung out again, and then we hung out a third time, and then the fourth time we had sex, and then we met up again for more sex after that. And then we got about 3 weeks into our relationship with the couple.
So at this point, the Bucky and his wife had not met. Like the four of you guys had not met.
All four of us had never been in the same room at that point. No,
I had gone up in.
Well, you had been with her independently.
Yeah. I had gone up and met with them, separately because they were night owls.
Well, yeah.
She worked a night shift and he matched
kept her hours. Yeah.
So and we were obviously days. So we. And with the kids, so we just met individually, and we liked them. And I had sex with her, and then we all four of us had never actually gotten together, even though we all individually got along.
Right.
And then it kind of transitioned to we had like a group text going on with all four of us, and then they asked if they could text separately.
Right.
Sarah and the guy.
Yeah, Sarah and the guy had asked if they could text separately, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird, but sure. And, that was my first, real struggle, with jealousy or what's going on, because texting separately, they would be, having their inside jokes or laughing. Why having a group text? Right. Also, in texting individually, it was really, really weird. And I'm, sitting beside her. And I'm like, what the fuck are you laughing at? We're talking to people. This is not funny. Oh, it's something different. And
So how did that, just out of curiosity, how did you guys resolve that? Was it just we need to shut that down? Or was there a transition out of it?
Ultimately, what ended up happening is, because this is the guy she's with now besides me, and I ended up actually just kind of backing out and not really participating in the group text because I didn't care.
Okay.
If they want to have their own individual conversation going on or whatever, that's cool. And if we're not clicking as a four-way, that's also cool. It didn't bother me. I can go out and do my own thing, but it wasn't going to work for me to continue to try to have a four-way relationship plus have this weird texting thing off to the side. I don't know if we ever fully resolved it.
Well, it wasn't very long after that. The other gentleman, texted me so our family lives 2 hours away from us. And there was a function that I had to be at with my family. So I had the girls at my parents' house 2 hours away when everything kind of went down. And he texted me and said, I don't want to be with anybody else. I just want it to be you and I.
And Sarah was in agreement with that.
And I was, because it was I really have very limited free time. I have a very good time with you.
Now, does this not excluding his wife, correct? Just
right. No. He just wanted it to be as far as extramarital goes, just me instead of his.
And Sarah wanted that as well, but I didn't realize that they had kind of progressed to that level. She hadn't communicated that to me.
That was a very, very big mistake on my part.
And so then
I fully admit that was my mistake.
But it all went down in a 2-day period, where they kind of crossed that line. And I was also away from work. So then I come up, and it's something she wanted to talk to me about in person and not have on the phone or text. So then I come up and I meet her at her parents' house, and I'm intuitive, and I'm something's going on with her. And at the time, one of our rules was an open phone policy. So I asked to see her phone, and I read through, and she was having an anxiety attack.
Oh yeah, it was not fun. I recommend if you ever experience this, anybody, just be honest. Just have the awkward conversation. Wherever you are, just do it. Because, I hadn't crossed a line and we hadn't said that we loved each other or anything like that. It was just, we only wanted, a friends with benefits, exclusive. Yeah. That's what was in it. But at the same time, I could also feel that, romantic feelings were there for me. And it's when we're in a society in which, monogamy is the only choice, right? That we're given. And they're this is your only thing you can have in life. This is the ideal. And if you love somebody else, then obviously you don't care about the person you're with at all.
Right.
It's so it's such a conflicting thing in your head too. Cause you're oh my God, I'm a horrible person. But I'm my feelings for Buck never changed.
Mm-hmm.
I never loved him less. He didn't mean any less to me. I just was also having like I was opening myself up to this other person and allowing those feelings in.
Right. And when you guys when you broached this topic on your behalf, Bucky, was there like concern that she was moving away from you to him, or were you just sort of like...
I wasn't sure what was going on. Like, I didn't feel like she was distant with me. I didn't feel like that part. I think I didn't feel that distance because, we had kind of gotten over that, what's the new relationship energy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We were really kind of obsessed with new people. That was kind of over with before this kind of cross. So, and we had kind of been doing that together with this couple. When she, went this line and I read her text and figured it out, I just had to kind of step back and say, okay, it's fine. I'm not going to like storm out of here. And I just had to go back and kind of do my own research. And that's kind of when I went online and started reading up on polyamory and, figuring that all out and kind of getting my mind around it. And it took me a couple weeks, I would say, maybe a month. And I pretty much kind of worked my way through it and got my thoughts together on it. And
it was something that like was ongoing. Like we would, as soon as the girls were in bed, it was like, okay, let's talk about it more.
Right.
And I was like, what do you want to know? Like, I'm an open book. I took the full brunt of like admitting like I had done wrong, and like I'm like, I don't want to repeat that. That was not fun. He deserved better.
Like you should have talked to him in more detail before you had gotten to that point with that other guy.
Yeah, like I should have been like, hey, I'm kind of feeling this. Hey, he just texted that like he'd like to, just see me. Like I should have been more upfront, but it was also new to me that it's like, how do I verbalize?
Yeah.
Yes, that's like freaking me out.
And I will just defend her. I wasn't actually really surprised that we went in this direction because, knowing her and the emotional connection she needs, like that's a part of her I knew already. So it wasn't like a big shocker for me.
No, we were together 6 months before he and I even slept together. Yeah,
that was me.
Well, maybe a little bit, yo. So. Yeah, so it's it's
I didn't let my slutty side out until later.
How things evolved for us.
And it doesn't sound like you really broke any rules or crossed any boundaries. It was just like it progressed sort of faster or different than you had expected, and you weren't sure how to verbalize it.
I don't think there was a rule violation. I mean, we did have some of our rules, and then, when we think about it now, like we were talking about it before the interview, is that, all the rules we had for swinging, like, were really all jealousy-based.
Yeah.
Like what? Just out of curiosity.
Like open phone, having an open phone policy, like I'm with her. I completely trust her. I don't care what's on her phone,
Right.
So like, I only used it the once. A couple of years later when I look back, I'm like, we don't really need, that was kind of a silly rule to begin with.
Do you miss one of our rules though? We did have one rule that was amazing because so often we would have to play separately because of like kids. So the rule was whoever played would have to bring junk food home.
Oh, yeah, we talked about
And we would, like, have the junk food spread out on our bed. And we'd be like, okay, tell me all the details. What went down? And we would, like, be stuffing our faces, talking about, like, so what did you do for sex tonight? Like, what happened? That was a fantastic rule.
That was a fantastic rule. I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool like way to reconnect and bond after. I mean, people wouldn't look at this and think, okay, well, here's a really cool strategy. We've got kids, so one of us is going to stay home and watch the kids. The other one's going to go have fun. And then we're going to sit around on the bed afterwards and eat Halloween candy and Funyuns. Like, that's not something you would expect.
Yeah, we have a 5 and a 7-year-old. Anyone that has those age groups, they're not having sex in their house.
Right.
Unless they're lucky.
Depends on the night. Yeah, so...
Yeah, our kids, never sleep, and they're always up, so it's just... It was a good avenue for us.
Right.
Still, be able to have sex and kind of enjoy the experience.
Still have sex. Like, that's the thing that happens.
Well, yes, I understand, but...
But it's more, it's limited. It's trickier with kids, yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's more obstacles for sure. So, yeah.
We don't have the same amount of sex that we had before kids.
Oh, that's a very true story.
Not even close.
Now, do you have more sex together now that you started swinging than you did before you started swinging?
I would say it fluctuates.
Yeah.
It really depends.
We really go with if it works for us.
Yeah, we try not to put too much pressure on it because I think, especially like being parents of younger kids, you're like, oh my God, we should be having sex. Even though you're just like laying in bed beside each other, but you're like, I'm so tired. Oh my gosh. Like, all I've done is run around all day. Like, I kind of don't want to move.
Right. So we moved away from like having that like, all right, fine.
Like obligatory sex?
Yeah, obligatory sex. We do it when we're both feeling it, so it works out. I mean,
it does.
And it's still like usually like once or twice a week. So, I mean, that's still pretty good.
For young kids, that's
For young kids, we think. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, that's one thing that I see a lot on people's profiles, and this is maybe my pet peeve, is you see a lot of people who are like, oh, we have the best sex life in the world, we're just doing this to add some spice, and sometimes I'm like, you know what? We do it when we can do it, and we're all humans, and it's not, some days or like some weeks, yeah, it's 3 or 4 times a week, and then some weeks it's none, and I think for people to, I don't know, that's just me being on my soapbox.
Well, but I think what you said though is like, I think people, they can say they have a good sex life and they're just doing it to add some fun. That's different from them just bragging on like, we have sex 20 times a week. Yeah. I think that's more what your pet peeve is.
And there's those people too.
Right.
And good for them, but I mean, I don't have anything, I'm not mad at them, I just...
No, but in your mind, you're like, how is that realistic? I think that...
It's not even that, it's just the like, this is only something you can do. Yeah, now we're having our own argument. I think it's the fact that people look at this and say you should only be doing this if you have a great sex life together, and I don't necessarily think that's true.
Yes,
actually,
exactly.
I completely agree with you, and Sarah and I are both very much believers that sexuality and what you're in the mood for is very fluid. And it's not always the same. So the concept that I always have to only want to have sex with my beautiful wife for the rest of my life, because I'm married to her.
And you have to want to do it 4 times a week, or
right. So
or you're not actually attracted to her.
Right. So it's it's very fluid. So sometimes we may not want to have sex with each other, and that's okay. Like, that's not a reflection of the rest of our relationship or how we work as a couple. It's not. That does not define us. So we work very well as a couple. We're great parents. We have a nice household. Even if we never had sex again, I would still want to live and be with, Sarah.
I feel like that's a little extreme. Like,
but
not stop having sex.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if it went down that road, like, it doesn't mean I would want to not be with you.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's one of the parts that, like, in all of this, the swinging or the poly and everything, that I feel like we're actually closer.
We actually are closer as a couple.
Yeah, closer, or like I feel like I love her more because she's really not controlling me.
Right.
She's letting me be me in whatever that is. Right. As long as sharing and communicating and being safe. Like now we literally have like 2 rules, and that's like safe sex and communicate.
Yeah, communicating.
Just be honest. Like whatever it is, that's really what we're down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Sarah sort of decided she was going to have a primary secondary partner, that's not a good way to say it. But an exclusive
secondary, because we're hierarchy in it, because
that's the format of polyamory that works.
The hierarchy of hierarchy.
Yep.
Yeah. For the poly is what we do, because we consider her partner, my other partner, the secondaries.
Okay.
And then
we're the primary because she's a stay-at-home mom. I'm the household income. We have 2 kids.
Like we have,
Our house, our life has to come first.
Yeah. And
anyone else we're with has to understand that.
And I think you kind of just answered the question I was really spending a lot of time trying to ask, which is, did you ultimately, Bucky, find another partner, or do you continue on the swinging side?
Yeah, no, it was like a month.
It was a month later.
It was like a month later. I ended up what was to be a one-night stand with a guy. that turned out to be, now I'm in a committed relationship with him. He's not so much poly, but he really tries. And I still have played around outside with other people outside of like him and I. So I haven't really shut down that side because I kind of felt like I caged my sexuality for 34 years. I finally let it out, and like a year later, I go back into a cage, kind of. So right. I wasn't really done exploring. Yeah, that's something him and I work on separately.
Yeah, sure. So on your side, it's a little more, I don't want to say still like a swinger necessarily, but less restricted in, like, you'll find other partners for more casual
I'll do more casual, like, encounters and not necessarily need to have the ultimate connection. Yeah. But I'm still in the committed relationship, with the, other person.
And on Sarah's side, you've got Bucky and you've got the other guy and you're set to go. And
yeah, well, he and I are together. I will sometimes be with he and his wife.
Okay.
But that I'm not part of like a triad. Like she actually was seeing other people and has decided to stop. So she's basically monogamous now.
But there's no issues. I don't want to pry.
I won't say there's no issues, but we are usually able to figure it out. Because it took a longer time for her to adjust than Bucky.
Okay.
So, but
it's super interesting. Oh, so I had texted her in the beginning, was like, hey, what's this about? Like, what do you think? And they were like, oh, it's perfectly fine. I'm okay. And then she was totally not okay live. And she had to work on that on, her own.
Yes, but she and I are friends and it's all good. I mean, we've been together almost 2 years now. So it's definitely, everything's, working. And you have that hurdle. If you have a partner who is monogamous still, that's involved in any of the web of relationships we have, but is because they have such a different mindset, and it's like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to be with him exclusively. Like, I'm okay with sharing him. I just want to be part of his life. That's it, and if there's a specific action that I do that bothers you, or if there is something that you want just for the two of you just have to let me know. Totally willing to work around whatever, because I have to understand that, like, it's just different mentalities. So we try to work it out, and we do check in. I do check-ins with my boyfriend every couple of months just to make sure we're still good. Your wife is okay with things still, like, you're still happy. Because I believe that everything is so fluid. Like, I don't know, maybe he wants to go exploring. Yeah. I don't want to necessarily think that he and I are forever,
Right. Well, I think it's important to have that ongoing conversation with partners. I mean, in any sort, it's always good to revisit the dynamics of your relationship.
Yeah, my boyfriend and I revisited it quite frequently.
Well, the difference is, though, that he is monogamous.
Yeah,
so that's a totally different dynamic when you have.
And he's trying not to be. He's interested in this, but his upbringing and he's older than me, and so he has and he's gay, and has had all this, like, every time he's been in another relationship. Anytime you've slept with someone else means it's over. Yeah. And your relationships have all been defined by sex. Right. The sex is not good, the relationship's over. So it's, he's working through that, and that's part of his commitment to us to work on that. So, and he knows what he's getting himself into.
Well, yeah, we both of us were very upfront about, like.
Although oddly, he's never had a problem with Sarah.
I have a vagina. It's not the same. Like, if you're a gay man, like, a vagina is no threat.
Apparently not. And that's my struggle. I've never understood that about like he's dating a poly person. Like, I have a wife and kids. Like, why do you care if I sleep with anyone else? Like, I don't actually understand that. I already am sleeping with someone else.
No, that's a fascinating. A fascinating dynamic that I don't even know if we could begin to understand. I mean, so
some days I don't understand.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned earlier that you had made a couple of hiccups and a couple of mistakes along the way. Are there any other things that you think, looking back on it, that you would do differently as you guys sort of navigated to where you are now?
Well, I would speak up more quickly. Which now I've learned my lesson. I also to trust my gut.
Yeah, trust your instinct. Because we've had a couple experiences where she was uncomfortable during sex.
And I didn't say anything.
And she didn't say anything, and I didn't even pick up on it. And I've been with her, forever. And
Well, so here's the thing that really kind of got in my head in the beginning is I did all this research and I'm reading all of these blogs and I'm listening to podcasts, like so many different podcasts. And the running theme between the women is that they just felt so empowered and like they're taking their sexuality in their hands and they're being independent and like they're asking for what they want. And I'm like, okay, why don't I feel that? Like I didn't feel empowered doing
when you first started opening your relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we were doing the swinging stuff, like I didn't feel empowered. I'm like, okay. And so I thought maybe if I just power through, maybe if I just try a different guy or whatever, try something different, maybe I will get that feeling that these women are talking about. Because I just wasn't feeling it. But it got to a point that I was just kind of like, I don't think this is for me. I'm not feeling it. And when we had met the other couple, we were actually at a point where I had vocalized this to him. And I said, maybe I just find like a friends with benefits and just do somebody regularly, like only be,
right.
Do maybe a couple random couples with you now and again, but really just have this sex buddy,
Yeah.
And that on the inside, that thought like settled me. And I just wish that I had embraced what I was feeling on the inside before. Cause I mean, there were a couple of guys I was with that I kind of was like, probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I didn't feel great about myself afterward. It's not their fault at all. Like I consented and I went and I
I think that's part of the whole learning experience, definitely. Because, I mean, there's times where, you read somebody in the moment and you're like, sure, let's go for it. And then afterward, you're like, well, that wasn't bad, but I don't know if I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're just like, this was not great. I mean, it'll be a fun story later on, but like...
Well, and sometimes it's really hard to tell, like, two people or multiple people, like, your sexual chemistry before actually having sex, too.
This is very true.
Yeah, definitely a challenge.
I wanted to ask, so are you guys out to anybody in your community or your family or friends?
So my boyfriend actually asked that I not tell anybody that I'm specifically with him. He and his wife still get like support from her family, and they would be completely like disowned if her family knew anything. So we have to be really quiet. Even if he and I were to go like out in public, like we kind of have to not act like boyfriend girlfriend, which is a weird thing, but like I get it. So I came out to my two closest friends that I've been friends, one since like kindergarten and the other since freshman year in high school, and they were just like, we're not surprised, you're weird. Like that was their reaction. And I was like, don't think it's weird, but okay. Like, and they've been super like accepting about it. I did come out. I have a brother that I came out to, and he just is like, he seems cool with it. I tried coming out to my parents just because I didn't want to feel like I was living a lie with like the closest people in my life.
Yeah.
And it didn't go so well. Basically, it became a don't ask, don't tell situation.
Okay.
And my mom,
which is still the case.
It's still the case. Yeah, she doesn't acknowledge it. And she just said, I feel sorry for you. Like somehow it was all Buck's fault. But like he's the only one that wanted to sleep with other people, and I'm like, no, I'm actually really happy, and like, I just don't want to lie to you. I want to be honest about my life. And she just somehow like, I'm not enough for him, and
well, yeah, 'cause
something silly.
That was always the same with your parents.
Well, that's a different dynamic. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I'm all to blame for all that is Sarah now, because I'm the first person that, when I met her in college, she wasn't happy. She wasn't doing well in school, and she was miserable in her degree. And I'm like, well, why are you doing it? If you don't want to be a teacher, don't be a teacher. And so I think I was the first person really to support her for being her. All the changes that happened after she met me, and Sarah kind of coming out of her shell and getting tattooed and just kind of being a little bit of a wild child there, I got the blame for.
Oh, so yeah, it's all your fault, huh?
Yeah.
It's true. He held the needle to my skin.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
what it is.
So for me, I haven't really come out to anyone. I've told a couple of friends that like we're swingers, and that when we were swingers.
Right. Well, yeah.
I haven't had the conversation of the poly, and no one really knows that I have a boyfriend or that I'm bisexual. And my theory behind it was it's really none of their business.
Yeah.
And I don't talk to them about like sex with Sarah.
Right.
I've never been in a locker room where guys talk about sex on a regular basis or like what's going on with your relationships. I don't talk about my, monogamous relationship with my friends. So why the hell would I talk to them about, or why would they be interested in the other stuff? If they asked me about it, I would tell them. But
I've never really thought about it. Like, that's not like you go around bragging like, oh, I banged my wife so hard last night. Like,
right.
It's just not something you're typically doing on any given day. So
And that's what I kind of tell Finn sometimes. If someone would ask me straight up, I would not lie. I would tell them. Mm-hmm. But I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way to tell certain people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't announce like I'm an ultra runner or I'm a vegan or I'm a this or I'm a that. Yeah, so there's no reason to trumpet your entire sexual history or what you're into. So that's just my theory, and that's why but she was very much like felt like she was hiding, and I don't feel like I'm hiding. I don't care if I'm out in public. Like, I don't avoid going out in public with my boyfriend, and I don't care if she goes out in public with hers. If they run into someone we know, great. I'm not trying to hide. I just don't care. So.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
attitude.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. How did you guys, when you guys started getting into this, was there a lot of discussion around the safety aspect and the health aspect of it?
Very much.
Yes.
I was kind of like, I am clean. I would love to stay that way.
And we have.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have. But yeah, and even to this day, I'm like, bring condoms. Like, you don't know if you're gonna meet somebody. Like, bring condoms. When we went on vacation, I'm like, bring condoms.
Yeah, or I just did a race. The race I went to in the hotel. She's like, bring condoms. I'm like, I'm not gonna sleep with anyone. She's like, bring condoms. Okay.
Yeah. I think if I ran 50 miles, I wouldn't be having sex with anyone for like a month and a half while I recovered.
So we...
No, I'm always very, very, very careful.
And then I still get tested.
We do get tested. Yeah. I still get tested every year. Yeah.
Sarah gets tested every year. I get tested probably twice a year. You just
sleep with more people than I do. That's all.
I do just sleep with more people than you.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, that's, just for the safety aspect and making sure we're not bringing anything home.
Right.
So, and then it's like, when you sleep with someone else, you're not just sleeping with them, you're sleeping with everyone that they've slept with and everyone they've slept with. So if you really do like the spider web of people we've had sex with, it gets pretty tangled. So particularly when her partners, because my partner wasn't doing anything else, but her partner's wife was.
Yeah, in the beginning, she was still seeing
other people. So it really could get complicated there.
Yeah. So. How do you, when you meet new people, do you bring up that conversation at all with them?
Oh, the safe sex?
Yeah.
Or yes. We always have the conversation safe sex. Like, we won't go into it if we aren't going to have like a safe interaction with that person.
I was curious too, being that it sounds like a lot of the guys that you're finding, Buck, are they mostly in the gay community, or are there other bisexual men?
I would say it's a mix.
Sure.
I'd say it's 50-50.
Yeah.
But I haven't really slept with that many people since my other committed relationship.
Right. Yeah. So did you guys have any, how have you guys met people then? Is it mostly on websites? Obviously it wasn't going to clubs.
Yeah, for us it was all different sites. Because the club scene didn't seem like an option, and we didn't know anybody already in the community, so we're like, well, house parties are definitely out then.
Well, we tried talking to a group of people online.
Oh, that was such a bad idea.
That really was a bad idea.
Oh, that was such a bad idea. They were like, there was a kick group.
Boy. Yeah.
And so we found that, so I don't know who found them.
You found them.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my bad then. They were super nice and welcoming at first. Like, but they were into some really kinky stuff. And at that time,
and they had like house parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't go in the basement. And we're like, yeah, don't worry about it.
yeah. So, yeah, just the photos that they would post alone were very intimidating because they were just so out there. Like, if you Googled, like, hardcore, like, rough set, like, I don't even know, like, triple, like, hardcore words. Like, stack 3 of them on top of each other, and then that's what we were getting in the group. And we were like, maybe this isn't for us.
Right, yeah, not that there's anything wrong with it, just it was...
No.
I mean, if Bucky doesn't like seeing you tied up, he probably doesn't want to see the stuff that they were going to do to you. It doesn't
bother me tied up. It just, I'll tie her up. It just doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. I'll do whatever the hell she wants. It just doesn't do anything.
Did you guys ever meet those people, or did you just talk with them on Kick?
Yeah, we talked to them, and they were having a house party that we almost went to, and then we're like...
We talked ourselves out of it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, just because we felt it was just like really too... We weren't there yet.
No, and it would have been our first experience, too. And we were kind of like, well, what happens if we get there? Like, are we going to feel pressured to play and we don't want to yet? And we haven't connected one-on-one to any of the couples because it's just this big group text. And they all know each other. So they're having all these, like, inside jokes, and we're like, we don't get them.
Yeah, it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, maybe if we had met you outside of this, it could have, but because that was our only experience, it just was not...
Yeah.
Didn't feel quite right.
It sounds like intimidating for the first experience.
Yeah.
Very much, yeah. Now
And so this was before you guys met anybody. This was before you had done any swinging or anything like that.
Right.
I think it was in the middle. No, I was in the middle of the swinging.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't even remember. That was a long time ago.
And then, some of the couples the swinger couples we know, they, because we're still friends with 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them goes to some group thing, some community thing that they go to. And then the other one does like some camping. Yeah. Like there's like the nudist camping kind of.
Yeah, it's actually not far from here, yeah.
Yeah. So they do that.
No, that works.
In addition to the online stuff. So there is other avenues that we just never really explored because we kind of really got out of the swinger thing, and because we both kind of landed in other relationships fairly close to each other, we never really also explored. We never really dove into anything in the poly community. I don't even know if there's websites or anything.
There is a small community. There's a Facebook page that I've looked at, and they seem nice. The other thing,
and that's for the poly world.
Yeah. For the poly world. The other thing is too that a lot of people. Like, poly is gaining more, and it, just like being non-monogamous in any form, is gaining more traction. People are trying it out. But a lot of people associate being polyamorous with being in a triad. So having a relationship with 3 people.
Yeah. Just
the 3 people. And I'm like, that wouldn't work for our dynamic.
No, it doesn't. Our setup's more like we kind of have separate lives, like a little bit. Really, I mean, I feel like I do. I feel like I have, my time with my boyfriend, and then I have the at-home time, which is my primary, and you have your time with your boyfriend. So, I mean, they know each other and they've talked, but we never hang out, all of us, or we never really. Sarah and I are usually going to their respective houses. Right. They're not coming to ours.
Right. So, but as I was saying, with the poly site for Maine, there's one, literally one. But it is a lot of like either triad type information or people in triads or unicorn hunters. They're out there, even in the poly world. A lot of polycules that include like 7 or 8 people. And that all want to cohabitate. And I'm like, again, fantastic that works for you. That just doesn't work for me, like for my lifestyle.
Yeah, it might. I mean, we've talked about having.
It would be different. It wouldn't work with the people we're with now.
Right. It wouldn't work with the people we're with now.
But it wouldn't be out of I wouldn't exclude that possibility if it were the right person or people.
Right.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, where do you guys think the journey's going to take you guys? Or do you have any type of, here's what I see in 5 years, what's my 5-year poly plan?
I don't know. I kind of take it, a month at a time. Currently, my boyfriend and his wife had a pretty big shift in their home life with new job and stuff. So I kind of am in like you guys figure that stuff out. I'm going to just be over here chilling out. Let me know when you have time, and letting them. So it could just not work because of that. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of in a gray area right now. I'm just open to, I think that's the other thing with it becoming non-monogamous. You have to be okay with change. Yeah. Like you have, because you just don't know. And that's the thing I'm working on right now is being able to let go a little more. With not trying to be like, oh God, I want to text him, but they're having a serious thing, and I need to just chill and trust that everything's okay, but you still have those nerves. We're trying to just kind of chill out about it.
You've been practicing conversion a lot.
I have been practicing conversion. I'm be one, it's good. They're happy. I'm happy for them. It's great. But again, I'm not. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to taking another partner if that ever happened. I just, at this particular junction, because of how our schedule is, I have the time.
Yeah, it's really, that's probably the biggest struggle with everything.
Yeah, time.
Is the time. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between, maybe swinging and poly is with swinging, you're not really emotionally invested or connected to the people fully. You're not responsible. You don't have a responsibility to the relationship.
I suppose it depends on how close you get to the people that you're swinging with. There are some people that
there's a line, whatever. But when we're in our committed relationship,
committed romantic relationships would be
so we have our responsibilities with our other partners, and then our primary responsibilities at home, so we just run out of time really fast.
True.
Yeah,
right.
True.
That's probably the biggest challenge now is just time
management.
Yeah.
Well, and taking time to foster your relationship too, that's key as well.
We do pretty well, especially with his mom taking the girls, and like I said, we make sure we do a vacation a year that's just us doing something we both love doing.
Yeah, we've definitely become more efficient communicators.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, that is a big thing, especially even through texting now too. We do a lot of I hate saying that, but we do have a lot of conversations through text because it's just easier.
And we're pretty conscious of making sure we have time for us without the kids, without that, making sure we have time to focus on ours.
Yeah, and then still making time for all four of us. Too.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's that too.
It's all balance, huh?
It is.
It's the biggest struggle.
It is, yeah.
But honestly, I guess it's not too much different than when we were swinging, because I was trying to balance finding time to be with these other couples, and then you make this time and then they don't show up, and it's just that comes with its own struggles as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shot at your ego and your self-confidence when you get stood up by somebody. You're like, oh, was it me? Was it her? Who?
We got stood up once.
Oh man.
Only once?
Yeah,
No.
once, really?
I was like, the one time I'm thinking of is that
That one pissed me off so bad.
Really quickly, but we were at the restaurant. They told us they were on our way. We were at the bar, and they said, "Okay, go ahead and get a table. We're almost there." So we got
not just a restaurant, some shitty chain restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to be a snob here because it wasn't somewhere we would eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got a table, and then about 5 minutes later, I think we got a table and we got an appetizer, and then they said, "Oh, never mind, we're not coming."
Oh no, that's horrible.
What the? So we ended up having to eat at this restaurant that we didn't want to eat at.
Oh, that's so hard. See, I'm vegan, so I always get to pick the restaurant. Because I'm usually places are really limited, but damn, that would suck.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And then they tried to message us a couple weeks later and ask if we wanted to hang out.
No.
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 Sorry, you lost
I said,
your
yeah,
chance.
sure, meet us at a restaurant. We'll be there.
We got stood up so many times, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so have we.
Yeah, that just is the one that sticks in my memory the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I actually don't understand it fully. If you're not invested, you're why make the plan?
Right.
Yeah.
I just think it's people trolling or making game, playing a game.
Yeah.
I understand if like someone gets sick or your kid gets sick or something like that, and and they give you a little bit of notice and it seems legitimate like that, because that's happened to us too. Like there's been times where one of us has gotten sick. That's okay, but when you just ghost people, it's just like, why?
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't get it. I don't understand the ghosting thing. I really don't.
Yeah, it's happened to me so many times. Like it doesn't. Like I don't suffer a blow of ego anymore because it's happened so many times. I'm just desensitized to it.
Well, and I think part of it is like because non-monogamy or being non-monogamous isn't mainstream, because it's still very much against the social norm. I think people get really close to the fantasy of it happening. Yeah. And then it becoming a reality, and they get nervous, or they're like, get in their head about like, oh, what if it's not as good as my fantasy? And I think they maybe psych themselves out too. I don't know if I'm getting.
No, I think that's definitely. I think that's a really good point, because I'm sure that happens.
Yeah. One of my biggest personal struggles was realizing that just because someone wants to have sex with you does not mean they want to be your friend.
Yeah, that is kind of a mind fuck in a way. Like, there you go. Okay, I guess you like me enough to have sex with me, but you don't really want to be friends with me. Okay.
Right, and I'm like a social person, and I'm still trying to like find my tribe that like of people that just get me, and it's just like you're always like, oh well, we had sex, that means like we can be friends, right? No, does not mean that.
Like good sex, though. I mean, maybe that was worth it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I had a question though for Sarah before we wrap things up here. You had mentioned that the couple that you talked to for 2 months, it made things really easy for you because you started to find that connection.
Right.
But it wasn't necessarily a romantic connection.
Correct. So
I guess the difference for you, whether it's a long-term friends with benefits versus a poly-romantic love connection, is there the line for you, how does that work?
So I guess I just leave myself open to the possibility of what's going to happen.
Okay.
So like I don't, like when you get married, for example, and you're in a traditional monogamous relationship, you like shut that part of you down, right? You're like, okay, like I'm no longer allowed to make that type of connection. So I don't. And so basically all I did was just bring that like shade up or open that door where I'm like, I'm able to like care for multiple people. So why wouldn't loving multiple people be an option as well? Or being in love with, like in romantic love with people, why isn't that an option? So I kind of just let it grow and like explored that instead of just instantly shutting it down. Mm-hmm. And that's how it evolved with that couple. I would say that having done more research and stuff, because I still avidly read anything I can get my hands on about polyamory and stuff, or and sexuality in general. I just find it really interesting. And I would say that I'm more on like somewhere in the realm of demisexual, where like for me to fully enjoy like a sexual experience, I need to be connected to that person in some way. Like a full demisexual person would like need to foster like an emotional connection, typically meaning like a romantic emotional connection to really be into sex, where I don't think I'm fully there, but I feel like I'm somewhere on that spectrum.
Yeah. No.
And so a long-term friend with benefits could fall on that spectrum for you of like...
For me, it could, yeah. It just, the way it happened, I got romantically attached.
Yeah, I think her line is more like, is she seen as a sex object?
Oh, I hate that.
Or is she seen as a person?
Yeah.
That's what I was seeing. Like, if she is reduced to just like
a sex object, I get very turned off.
Very turned off. And that's kind of, even that couple that we were kind of like, we were friends with and we're still friends with or whatever, as soon as like sex was off the table, we haven't really seen them. Like we're online friends, but we haven't actually get together, and like the effort really stopped. So that energy was still there for her.
Right.
So I think that's why that first couple didn't really connect, because she was still, the guy in that relationship was still all about the sex.
Yeah, my vagina was off the table, and he was like, adios.
Right.
Like,
So I think that's the line. The line drawn in the sand for her.
Probably.
Yeah, it's finding somebody that's willing to be your friend even on the days when you can't or won't or don't want to have sex with them.
Yeah, because for me, I'm more than just a sexual being. And, like, it's cool if you just want sex. You go do you. But, like, that's just not what I'm looking for.
Right, and we, part of this was easy for us because we, even before we had ever talked about sleeping with everything, she would have like guy friends, or I would have girlfriend, girls that were friends.
Well, here's the thing, like,
and I was just like, go out to the movies with them, and all our friends were like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, you're not jealous?" I'm like, "Why would I be jealous? You go to the movies."
The thing is, like, I'm into nerd stuff.
Right.
I like going to cons. I like dressing up. I went in full Deadpool gear to Deadpool 2. That's my
awesome.
level of geekness. So, like, typically people, and not always, there are some women that are super geeky like that too. Most of them are guys.
Right.
All the guys I've gamed with online, they're all guys. You had a female running partner for a while.
Right. So we just let each other do that part even way before. So I think that we already had experience in dealing with like those kind of jealousy things. But all of those guys, every single one of them turned her into this sex object. They all wanted more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ultimately hurt the relationship and really bothered her. So that's the other part of this swinging or poly community. It does not mean you want to actually have sex with everyone that you meet.
Right, and that's, for example, you have people in the poly community who are asexual. So they just want that emotional connection, and it might just be cuddling.
Right.
That's what they're looking for, like an emotional and a cuddling type thing. It doesn't mean that you're, and... like, if that works for them, fantastic. I think the other thing, too, and I think it helped a lot with, like, because compersion doesn't come easy to everybody.
Right.
But for me, I never wanted him to, like, too many couples in my life have been married for, like, 20 or 30 years, and they end up resenting each other. And there's this, like, quiet resentment, and it's not necessarily vocal, and they don't necessarily get divorced. But because this partner stopped them from doing this thing, or, this person did this thing, and they weren't able to fully, like, be themselves or do what they want in life, they carry this around. And I never wanted that for us. Like, I never wanted to be that couple that 30 years down the road, he's like carrying this resentment because he didn't get to run a race, or he didn't get to, like, I really wanted to try sleeping with a guy, or whatever. Like, I wanted to go back to school, whatever the case may be. Like, I didn't want that. So I just want him to live his life and be happy. And if he comes home to me as, like, his safe space, that's even better. And that's kind of how it boiled down for us.
Yeah. I think that's awesome.
That's really cool. I think a lot of people could learn from that you don't have to do everything with your partner, and you don't have to have all of the same interests to be compatible. You'll still listen to her talk about the things she likes. It's not like you're not a part of it. It's just you don't necessarily have to go every single time.
Right. For me, it's either with Sarah or my other partner. I just want them to be like the happiest they feel they can be in their life, and as long as I am part of that happiness, then I want to be. But if for some reason you feel you need to run away or whatever, and to make you happy, as long as you're happy, then it's okay. I just want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think that concept really draws people closer to you.
Oh, it does, because they're so supportive. And to feel that level of support and, like, openness from somebody, there's nothing better. Like, it's amazing.
Well, there's no reason not to stay with the people at that point, because there's no resentment building up. There's nothing holding you back. Do whatever you want,
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think that's really enlightening, and probably a perfect place to end, and maybe ask if you guys have any resources. It sounds like you both did immense amounts of research. Maybe if you could pick your top 1 or 2 favorite resources you found along the way.
So for me, there is a fabulous podcast, Poly Weekly. Mm-hmm. They also have a website that's a great resource, More Than Two. is a book and also a website with tons and tons of information, especially if you have like, that's where he found a lot of information on like a monogamous person within a poly relationship and like all the different dynamics that like you might find. And The Ethical Slut, it's been mentioned before on this podcast. It's a great read. It's good, and it pertains to like so many different aspects of non-monogamy.
Yeah.
So
no, that's great. Perfect.
I might have to look up and research the website I found that I really liked. I just don't remember the name of it. And it explained...
More than two.
Oh, was it more than two?
It was more than two. Yep. And there's
good.
also some really fantastic, if you're looking for polyamory exclusively, if you just Google like TED Talks, polyamory on YouTube, there are like so many different videos that are all really, really fabulous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great
we'll link to every single one of them in the show notes.
That would be a
It'll be the longest show notes we've ever had. No, I appreciate it, and we both appreciate it. And thank you for reaching out and not being afraid to be a part of it. It's super awesome, and it's...
Yeah, no, it's been great talking to you guys, and I'm excited that you're willing to share your story and get, another dynamic out there.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening, and we will keep in touch, and maybe we'll get an update in a year or two and see where things are at.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, have a great night, and good luck on your run this weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, I don't know about you, but I have to pee really bad right
You
now.
always have to pee.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised.
I've missed out on a few beginnings of orgies because I was peeing.
That is true.
Anyway, thanks for listening to the episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and you ladies enjoyed it. Again, as we mentioned, next week we've got Spiritual Swingers, Adam and Eve. Super excited to be bringing you that. They reached out, or they responded to us early on and gave us a lot of really good feedback on some
very
beta
helpful.
testing. So we're happy to be supporting them and happy to have them on the show. So we're really excited for that. And in the meantime, have a good week.
Yeah. Have a great week, everyone.